In this video, we're taking a look at Go Collect's hottest comics for the week of 2-18. Who would have thought Fantastic Four #1 would have been slept on for so long? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video with Swaggle. And in this video, I'm going to take a look at Go Collect's hottest comics for the week of 2-18. Now, for those who don't know, Go Collect puts out a weekly article that analyzes the hottest selling comics based on movement in the market. And it's always really interesting to, take a look at what have been some of the biggest movers, because this can kind of give us, some of that early insight into, what the market is basically speccing on, or what books have been slept on for a little while and are starting to, heat up. So it's always fun to take a look at this article, and we're going to get into it in a second. But before we do that, if you guys could drop me a like or a comment or subscribe if you're enjoying my content, love interacting with you guys, help support the channel, do one of those things, and I would really appreciate it. And not to mention that, I was also on the Spine Ticks show this past Saturday. And for those who don't know, Spine Ticks, they do a weekly show where we talk comic books, and they had me as a special guest, and it was a wild conversation. We had a lot of fun. So definitely go check out their YouTube channel or check out the VOD in case you want to see me on it. And I'll put a link in the description or annotation or somewhere around here. You guys will find it, and check them out. And they're a great group of guys and got a lot of great comic book knowledge. All right, with that being said, let us get into this article now. And I'm going to pull this one up. And of course, this is the Go Collect article. I talk about this all the time. Matt Tuck is the contributor. He's the writer of these weekly articles, and he's always a great contributor and has great analysis. So I will also put a link in the description of this article in case you guys want to do some of the reading yourself. But with that being said, let us pull up the article here. And here it is. Hottest comics, X-Men and Fantastic Four make jumps, February 18th, of course, written by Matt Tuck. And for me, I'm always someone that likes to start at the bottom because it's kind of more interesting to, work our way up to the top. But with that being said, I feel like the bottom comic book here is almost, the most interesting one to me. And that's going to be Fantastic Four #1, up 982 spots. And what is the significance of this? Well, of course, this is the first appearance of the Fantastic Four, one of the Marvel's first family, right? This is the classic Silver Age book. And what I thought was so interesting is when I pulled up this article is it was surprising to me that this book could have even jumped up 900 spots. This seems like a book to me that would always be sort of sought after, or the market would always be, wanting to get their hands on this. And for that reason, I wouldn't have thought that it would ever have slipped out of the top 1,000. But with that being said, it is, one of the most expensive books that you're going to get your hands on, generally speaking. So it is possible that, this book for a large period of time didn't have much movement. And because of that, that's why it sort of slips out of the, the rankings, so to speak. So now with the announcement that, we're going to get Fantastic Four in the MCU, it seems like a lot of people are really excited about this book. A lot of people are, wanting to get their hands on it. And, I can't blame them. I myself would love to get a Fantastic Four #1. I mean, who wouldn't? So this is one that's really interesting. Obviously, everyone's excited about Fantastic Four coming into the MCU. And Matt here, in his great analysis also talks about, there's been a lot of speculation that Reed Richards might be the person who shows up, in the Wandavision show. There's been, conversations in Wandavision that there's some kind of engineer. And Matt expertly points that out, that, maybe the engineer is going to be Reed Richards. We don't know. So maybe that's why right now people are trying to get their hands on this book. So at the 5th spot, Fantastic Four #1. All right, let's move on now to the next book here. And the next book is going to be Spiderman Unlimited #1, up 992 spots. And what is the significance of this? Well, this is a run based in the 90s. That was a Spider-Man Unlimited and started the Maximum Carnage story. And, this is something that's kind of really interesting because, we all know that a lot of the Carnage books have been heating up. I mean, we've seen them time and time again in these weekly articles and hottest comics. Amazing Spider-Man 361. We've had Venom Lethal Protector books heating up. We've had variant covers with Carnage on them heating up. And what I think is special about this book right here is that, we know that Venom 2 is coming out later in the year and that Carnage is going to play a part of that. So I think that there's a lot of people who are speculating that, maybe they're going to do some kind of Maximum Carnage storyline in the Venom movie, or if not in this particular Venom movie, they're eventually going to build to that. So that's something that is people have been specking on, or, as a side thing, maybe it's just frankly that, people want to get their hands on all of the Venom, all of the Carnage covers. And, Spider-Man Unlimited #1, start of the Maximum Carnage story, is definitely a great one to have. I mean, it's a beautiful 90s cover, and I could see a lot of people wanting it. And this is something that I think is really interesting too, because this is kind of like a side thing that I've typically generally noticed in general is that, it almost like when we have these big characters introduced into the MCU, like say a Kang the Conqueror or a Carnage or, any villain or superhero you can think of. I mean, really, like it's not always just their first appearance book or their origin story. Like people generally hunt all of the books that have great covers of these characters. I mean, that's not to say that I think that these books have, legs in terms of value, like for, the collecting community, but once you get Carnage into the MCU, anything that has Carnage on it, anything that touches Carnage in any sort of way is going to have a spike in the prices. And I think for that reason, we're seeing Maximum Carnage here, Spiderman Unlimited #1, taking a spike. So, we'll see where this book goes, if it continues to go up as we get closer to the movie. But, until then, this book has definitely made a jump. All right, let's move on now to the third book here. And the third book is Dark Knight Returns #3, up 995 spots. And, admittedly, I'm not someone who is a big DC person. So, I do know who Frank Miller is. I do know that Frank Miller was on this run. But as Matt pointed out here in this article, one of the things that is speculated of why this book heated up so much recently is that, apparently this is the first appearance of a battle tank, a Batmobile that, has been referenced that we're going to see possibly in the Snyder Cut or possibly in the next Batman movie that maybe Ben Affleck is going to be driving some version of this. So for that reason, I think people have started to gravitate to this particular Frank Miller run and this particular issue of Batman because there was a first appearance of that rendition of the battle tank. And, that one is something that's really interesting to me that people are chasing this battle tank. I mean, hey, we're the speculator is going to be speculating. We're going to jump on any sort of, inside information or Easter egg, people are going to try to get their hands on those books before, the market catches on. And for that reason, people want to get their hands on this Batmobile tank. I suppose. So anyways, let's go on now to pick number 2. And pick number 2 here on this article of the biggest movers is going to be a really cool one. Thor #337, up 995 spots. And what is the significance of this? Well, this is the first appearance of Beta Ray Bill. Yes, Beta Ray Bill. You got to love this book. This is a classic book, a classic cover. I mean, how many times has this book alone been cover swiped, throughout the years of Marvel? I mean, countless amount of times. You have people who have, massive collections of just, cover homages to this book. And, I think one of the reasons why people are getting so excited about this is, we all know that technically speaking, Beta Ray Bill does exist in canon in the MCU. I mean, in Thor Ragnarok, they had the tower that had the pillar that had Beta Ray Bill's face on it. So, even though it was an Easter egg, I mean, you could make the argument that 100% Beta Ray Bill exists within canon. Or if it's not Beta Ray Bill, I suppose you could say that Beta Ray Bill's alien race at least exists within canon to the MCU. And for that reason, people have been specking on Beta Ray Bill coming into, Thor Love and Thunder. People feel like he might make an appearance. And I think there's good reason to suspect that, because if they lay the foundation for that Easter egg, in Thor Ragnarok, Taika Waititi's coming back to do Thor Love and Thunder, it's very, very possible that we're going to get some version of Beta Ray Bill, or maybe the Thor Corps, or some, team composition like that in Thor Love and Thunder. And for that reason, people have been jumping on this book, and I think for good reason. I think that this is definitely a speculative book, but at the same time, this book is going to be one of those books that continues to hold value. I mean, it's first appearance of a beloved character, Beta Ray Bill. It's a classic cover, and even if we never see Beta Ray Bill in the MCU, which, frankly, I think we will see him in the MCU, but even if we never do see him there, I think that people are going to be, seeking this book for many, many years to come. And frankly, it's surprising to me that this book ever fell out of the top 1,000, because I had always thought that people were hunting this book all the time. All right. With that being said, let us go now to the #1 book on this week's hottest comics for the week of 2-18, and that is going to be X-Men #94, up 997 spots. And what is the significance of this? Well, this is the second appearance of Storm, Colossus, Nightcrawler, and Warpath, I believe. And this is the first time that we saw the characters like Storm and Colossus and Nightcrawler in the X-Men title. Not to be confused with, their first appearance, which is when we saw them in giant size X-Men #1. Well, this is the comic book that, we actually had these characters. Now they're a part of the X-Men team, and now they're in the X-Men run, and this is technically their second appearance. And what have we learned time and time again with these second appearances and these Go Collect articles and things like that? Well, second appearances always heat up. Once those those #1 appearances get out of reach for people. You know, you look at that X-Men or Giant Size X-Men book and you look at some of the numbers and these things are crazy. Like I can't even imagine what the numbers are going to be once we actually get X-Men into the MCU. I mean, talk about a book being untouchable. So with that being said, I think that this right here is sort of that now consolation prize for a lot of people. You know, people, you know, if they can't shell out the money it takes to get your hands on a Giant Size X-Men #1, well, X-Men 94 is a great, you know, second book to have. And for that reason, I think that, you know, the market has been gravitating towards that. And that's why you have this book heating up 997 spots. So very, very cool book to have. Still a second appearance, significant in that it has these characters back into, you know, or has them now into the X-Men title, which is a very cool thing to see because, you know, this is the title that would run for many, many years to come after these characters became a part of the X-Men. All right, so anyways, those are the 5 hottest comics for the week of 2-18. Always really, really cool to see. Let me know what you guys think. Do you guys have any of these books? Have you been specking on any of these things? You know, let me know what books here do you think are going to be like, you know, definitely worth investing in or specking on for the future. Anyways, drop me a like, comment, or subscribe if you're enjoying the content. Thank you so much for watching the video, and I will see you in the next one.